Well, hello, 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 and welcome to the iHealth channel and iHealth Radio. Today is the quote, and Hurricane H in the house. Today's quote is about mindset. Mindset is everything. We heard that expression somewhere, somehow. We all talk about positivity, we talk about mindset, and it's just like the core of everything. Today, I have a special guest, and as I always say, my guests are special. And, Nir Bashan, he is actually the author of The Creator Mindset. It's a book, but we're going to talk about that. And it's correlates nicely with the concept of the mindset. And, again, we are a health platform, and in the health, realm, everything is also about not just physical, it's also the mind. And having a right mindset for everything can turn things differently, can make a big difference in somebody's, daily activities, somebody's well-being, and somebody's even success. And so I'm not going to talk about all that today. I will leave it to the guest of honor here. So Nir, first of all, please introduce yourself to us. Tell us about who is Nir, and and then let's talk about the book.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me. Nice to be here. Basically, the book is a how-to guide to get creativity extracted from everything that you do. We have a lot of why books out there and why, you should do something, but very, very few people are telling us how to actually do things. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. And the one thing that I've always needed was someone to show me how to do things, not why I should do it. And so that's what I set out to write the book on. It's kind of a how-to guide of how to be creative, more creative at work, and how to change your mindset into one of more positivity and looking at problems in a different way, and realizing that maybe the construct that we've all grown up with about analytics and numbers and all of that being the best thing ever. Oh, let's look at the spreadsheet and let's look at the, P&L or the quarter 3 report, and that'll show us everything we need. It starts to break down that model and starts to introduce a new way of thinking about things. So that's kind of what the book's about, and that's sort of what I'm passionate about, helping people become more creative in business.
So again, I'm assuming is this the only book? No, it's not the only book, right? You have other potential things in the market.
It's the only book out right now, but yeah, I have other potential books right here in the mind.
All right. Well, again, talking about mindset and getting it up, that's a very good point you made. Is that the why versus the how, or the how versus the why, right? A lot of people will tell you, like, well, why are you doing this? Why? But nobody's really taking the time to guide or give you hey, this is secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
People kind of hold on to that one, right? They don't want to share it.
Oh, totally. And I've spent a lifetime. I've started working when I was 9 years old, and I spent a lifetime trying to get the secrets out of people, right? Like, how do you do it? And you were able to offer this service or this coupon and got a bunch of new customers. Like, how did you do it? And people were super tight-lipped, man, because they thought that was my intellectual property. I'm not going to share it with anybody. But I think the time has come to deconstruct these, mystical things and actually teach people how to do it. Yeah, I think it's a big deal.
Well, it is. And I've stated some of these things in some of the previous shows, well, my personal ones, not talk shows, just where I was actually given some guidance here. But I do believe in the concept of sharing knowledge, and knowledge is not to be kept. And that's unfortunate. People hold on to it like it's like a gold mine, and you don't want anyone in there. But at the end of the day, you take it, you absorb it, you use it, but effectively, it will die if nobody else gets it. Otherwise, we'll still be living like in the past today. I mean, we all share the knowledge of our, ancestors, right? To a degree and the progress. So it is important to share that. And how is key.
Yeah, the problem is that most people, right, protect their ideas with everything they've got. So they don't get ideas that often, right? And Nir, I was showering 2 weeks ago and I got an idea, and, they protect it with everything they got. They want to pet it and like give it a little water and a little sunshine. And, this is my precious little idea. Nobody will ever get it. The problem with that is we are not designed that way as human beings. We are designed to come up with a lot of ideas, not just hoard one precious idea. And what happens when we just take one idea and like, think that it's the biggest thing on earth, is we lose that ability to come up with other ideas when that idea goes away, gets stolen by somebody, so on and so forth. We spend so much of our life trying to protect these little things that effort in protecting something can easily go into just manufacturing more ideas. But it's a choice that we make, and most people choose to hoard out one or two little ideas. We got to teach people how to make ideas and how to manufacture them on a regular basis, so that they're not so precious about those little ideas that come up once in a while. Entrepreneurs are the worst at this. The worst. They're like, dude, I got this idea. I saw a gap in the market and I'm going to take it, but I'm not sharing with anybody. It's like that's the thing. You need not just to have one idea. You need to have 100. And then when those hundreds run out, you got to have 100 more. And there's got to be a system and a way to be prepared for the eventuality of the marketplace changing, someone taking your idea, someone executing your idea poorly, on and on and on and on. If you're armed with ideas at the ready, then you are way more prepared for the economy and the market the way that it's changing today.
Well, again, I mean, to your point, a lot of people have ideas, and I'm sure everybody, they're watching this right now, they're probably thinking like, oh, that just gives me an idea right now. Let me do something similar, or let me write a book. It could be just as simple as that, right? But there is ideas and there's execution. There's ideas that's a concept, right? You concept, because like sometimes you're not sleeping at night and you're like, oh, I think of something like, what do you do about it? Some people sleep, but in the morning they're like, oops, I forgot. Some people write it down. So there's so many things, right? It's really that next step. And to your point, is like, where does it go from there? So guide us through that whole concept right there.
So absolutely right. I have a concept in the book that I talk about, which is the trinity of creativity, right? It's the way to make creativity happen no matter who you are or what you do. And it's the concept, the idea, and the execution. Most of us, like you just said, spend our life in the execution part, right? We just like trying to run from fire to fire, making stuff happen. We're so busy working in our business that we can't even see what's going on, so the execution is like the exact thing that you make. If you're a health coach or whatever, it's the exact thing that you do. I do personal training at the gym for people that are trying to lose, between 15 and 20 pounds. And, that's my thing. Right. And then the idea is the bigger level of that. What exactly is the middle ground of that? And you might say, oh, it's whatever, losing weight or whatever. And so then the concept is the biggest way to look at that. And you might say, oh, my concept is, I help people work out or whatever, but that's really not what the concept is. It's more about wellness. It's more about health. It's more about vitality and energizing people or whatever. Now, your concept, idea, and execution are going to be different than mine and different than the trainer next to you and different than anybody else in the world, because creativity is part of our DNA. It's who we are. And the way that we express it is literally our market advantage. And we have to learn how to express it on a regular basis and how to derive creativity from those various moments. So, you take every layer of the concept, the idea, or execution, and you tweak things around and it gives you a new offering. So instead of saying, I help people lose weight, maybe you help change people's mentality from can't to can. And then all of a sudden that'll open up so many new opportunities for you in your execution. You might tell me, Nir, it's maybe not about doing personal training. Maybe I need to, maybe it's about releasing a line of products that people can take on a day-to-day basis that will help them get to that end, so on and so forth. And that's how you make ideas. Now, you just write down the concept, you write down the idea, and you write down the execution, you circle them, and then you find, different different points to adjust within those three realms. And that's how you make creativity. Anybody can do it. It's easy. I've done it with one-on-one with a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and I've done it with, I don't know, 2,500 people in a ballroom at a conference, right? It's not like something that is so out there. Oh, creativity is so hard. It's not about that. It's about having the discipline to sit down, write those three things out, and then look at them and say, I just got an idea. Boom. There's your one of your 100, instead of waiting for lightning to strike like most of us, oh, I'm waiting for an idea to come. I was jogging 3 weeks ago and I had an idea. Dude, forget that. Like, sit down and make it happen. And that way you'll always be prepared for whatever changes.
You got to take action, and you got to take steps. And again, no delays, no hesitation. But you just hit on the nail right there when you stated about like the concept of the fitness. And then, well, it's not really that. It's something more. And that's the change of mindset right there. Like, it's how you go about it that will change the dynamics. And I'm pretty sure, a lot of people thinking about quite a few things today. They've thought about things in the past. And the next thing they see some other company in the marketplace doing it. I'm like, oh, I could tell you that happened to me too. So I can talk about personal experience, but that's really what it is. The key here is, I stated one time in this show, or one of the shows, is that this whole concept, the channel was an idea, right? But it's you can take it from just like, well, it's a channel, it's a podcast, or I could do a little bit different and see it, in a different light and take steps. And that's really what I'm assuming that's exactly what I'm reading here. That being said, now these three concepts or constructs that you mentioned, can we break them down further?
Yeah, definitely. So, you really have to look at those three stages and see how they apply to your product or service, right? The thing that I get a lot is that people don't think big enough on the idea, and they're lost on the concept. People think very narrowly about their product or their service. I'll give you an example. I did a keynote for a nursing association. And, we did, okay, concept, idea, and execution. Most of them couldn't get even out of the ideal realm because they were like, we're a care provider. I'm like, yeah, are you really? They're like, yeah, that's what we do. And I don't blame them, because I get it. Everybody's so busy in the execution portion of their business. But we started talking in one woman in particular. We started kind of putting her concept, idea, and execution together. And we found that her concept was communicator. And her idea was, sort of a communication bridge between the patient and everything else going around the environment. And her execution was, yes, that she did provide care. And just reframing the question sometimes makes the opportunity for creativity so much greater, because when she started to look at her career more as a communicator, she realized that, yes, you can go to nursing school and learn how to put in an IV or whatnot. But what her special gift was, and the thing that enabled her to really be creative and to think differently, was the fact that she was very good at being like kind of like a traffic cop of communication across the different channels so that information would flow to the right people at the right time. And that is an amazing gift and an amazing way to view your day-to-day job, your day-to-day life. And it gave her incredible potential to become more creative in her offering, in her career, and in her day-to-day life. Now, another nurse had a completely different path when we looked at the concept, the idea, and the execution. But I urge your listeners to try and think as big as possible of those, constructs, so that you try to break free from the realm of the day-to-day, very specific execution, and start to understand your role, your product or your service or your career in a very much bigger way, in order to generate that creativity that we're all missing at work today.
Well, so again, the concept of dream big, right? Ideas, You gotta really think big, dream big, and there's no limit to what you can do with that. The problem is we narrow that. We just don't want to look bigger, or we think that we don't have the ability or the capabilities to do that. And what I tell people, and I've stated this before, is what do you lose? You lose everything by not doing and thinking big, but you don't lose if you just think bigger. And even when you get the example of the nurses, but in any given business, you have similar roles, 3, 4 people working doing the same thing, but one of them highlights themselves differently because of how they do, and they go about things. And that's what sometimes makes leaders and change things, in the workplace and in the personal life too, like how you approach things. So it is a very lost concept to many, and today I think it's a great opportunity to share this. That you can do it, and you just have to look at what you're good at, right? Now, in your experience, what drives that? The fact that people don't kind of take that next step.
You mean that people don't want to take the risk to try something and to explore?
Well, they don't take the risk, but not only that, they don't even think that they can, do more.
Yeah, so I think I talk about it in the book as well. There's one of the most strongest forces in the world, right, is not an army or a weapon or something like that, which is where most people end up going. One of the strongest forces on earth is within everybody's body, right? It's in your mind, and it's the mind's ability to make, to just implant doubt into everything that you want to try. And we did a little bit of research, actually a lot of research for the book, a lot, and we found that something like 81% of people's daily thoughts are negative. 81%, like that's 19% of positive thoughts, 81%. It's crazy. And we attributed a study in Psychology Today where they literally looked at it across the entire world. And then so I took that research and started to say, okay, maybe it's a language thing, right? Because English maybe is not the most positive language. I don't know. So I started to look at it and cross-reference some other studies. And we actually found that no matter where you are in the world, every society, every language, I think there's 181 spoken on earth, every single one of them has more words for negative things than positive things. Every one of them. So there's more ways to describe discomfort than comfort. There's more ways to describe bad than good in every language on earth. I thought that was crazy, right? And I started to think, well, why is that? And I think it is because our mind and the ability that we have to self-edit is, incredibly, incredibly strong. And so what we need to do is understand that we have that self-doubt and do a few techniques to help us kind of get over the self-doubt. One of them that your listeners can do today is to write things down. I know it sounds whatever, but it is amazingly effective. When you write things down, you take them out of the realm of your brain and you put them on paper. And once you put things on paper, it lessens the load of having to feel like, oh, I got to get it right. Or, oh, it's some precious little thought that I love and I got to pet and take care of. It really enables you to get it kind of off your chest. And what I've noticed is as I help people develop this, they start to write a lot of stuff down. And I write, I've got Post-it notes everywhere. I love writing things down because it helps free you from having to get it right every time. We are so risk adverse because it's what really kept us alive this whole time, and as part of our survival technique, we're very hesitant to drink that water, because it might be tainted and we might die. So we tend to stick to the same things over and over, routines over and over, because we feel that they are safe. And when they are safe, then we're most likely to survive. But fast forward to today, that's no longer relevant, right? You go into a market or whatever, there's 60 brands of water. One has, coconut in it. One has, whatever, pineapple flavored. And we're so far away from that, yet we still say, I can't in all of this stuff. So we need to learn how to fight that self-doubt monster. And we need to understand that when we try something new or different is exactly the moment where it reared its ugly head and says, you don't know what you're doing. And why would you, all of this is tied back to 70, 80,000 years ago when we had to do that in order to survive. But today it's completely different. And we have not yet caught up biologically to all of the incredibly rapid changes that are going on around us. But there is hope. There's plenty of techniques that you can do. Writing it down is a really good one. Another one that I like is the waterfall effect, where you start to think of your ideas as neither related to the one before it or the one that came after it. And it's a wonderful technique that I use to help people kind of unlock that feeling that they have to edit it and they have to, I got to watch it because I'm being too crazy and wild with my ideas and so on and so forth. And when we're able to implement those two things, our creative thoughts can really start to take hold. So.
Well, so you hit quite a few items there, a few points that are critical. One is the positivity. The power of positivity, and I'm a firm believer of that. I participate in a lot of positivity groups, and I do some quotes myself, and it's really the key to your mindset, right? But there is, to your point, not only the language, but I think the surrounding. Now, a lot of people would actually just like put you down and put your idea down, or especially if you share it with others. Oh, what do you think? It's not going to work. I've seen that before. And that basically turns your dreams into like nightmares, or at least you just leave them behind and you don't even progress and proceed. So that's one item. And the other one is and what I say to that is eradicate negativity and adopt positivity. But to the other point that you made is write it down. I've used the same technique, in different trainings. You have something, let's put it let's put it one side by side, what the pros, what the cons, and build from there. Visualizing it gives you a different spin on things. In your mind, it's all ideas, it's all great there, but it's not really until you see it in front and you start. And when you put it in front of you, start, I can tweak this, I can make a move here. It changes the whole, snapshot of things.
It changes the whole thing. Yeah, and you're right. Positivity is incredibly important. I talk about it throughout the book. You make a choice every day about how you look at things, right? And, I've worked with some of the, investment bankers and airlines, right? And I see successful people over and over again are the ones that choose to look at a problem in a way that is not bound by any limitation. And people who are unsuccessful are people who look at a problem and get negative or look for someone to blame, so on and so forth. It really is within your power. Every one of your listeners can make a decision today to say, you know what, I'm going to go through, go to work, and the next problem that comes up, which might be in, 2 seconds, if you're in my line of work, constant issues coming up, then you say to yourself, okay, I can look at it negatively or I can look at it positively. And making the decision to look at it positively and find the silver lining in there is incredibly, incredibly important. There was a woman in the late 30s named Ruth Wakefield who ran a bed and breakfast, which was unusual at the time because most bed and breakfasts were run by men. Yeah. And it was in Massachusetts, very popular bed and breakfast because her cooking was unbelievable. And people would come from all over just to stay there so that they can have her meals. And one day she ran out of an ingredient, right? She was baking something and ran out of an ingredient, which you or me or most people would look at it like the crisis, right? You're known for your cooking and you ran out of something to make. Horrible, horrible situation, right? The worst. But she didn't have a negative mindset. She had a positive mindset. And so she looked around and substituted an ingredient. She had like a chocolate bar. And she chopped it into all these like tiny little pieces, right? And put it in and ended up, creating the world's first chocolate chip cookie. Okay. And everybody loved this cookie. Like I love cookies. People then like cookies. People now love cookies.
I know.
And so if she would have looked at that situation and said, you know what, this sucks, like most of us, I'm guilty, totally guilty of it. But, oh, this sucks. I ran out of this. I need my special butter, to make the recipe. And that's why my people are here and all this stuff. But no, she chose to look at it positively and said, you know what, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to make it happen. And out of a crisis, right, for a bed and breakfast known for its food, came one of the best innovation, the best, advancements in the culinary art, the chocolate chip cookie, which is awesome. And this would have never happened if she didn't run out of ingredients. So it's really important to look at adversity as it comes up in your business and in your life and start to say, you know what, I'm going to make the choice to look at it one way or another. And that silver lining can often be more important and more significant than what you were setting out to do in the first place, if you'll allow it.
Well, true. And I'm listening to you. I'm smiling because I'm thinking about a lot of things in my mind. And one of them is, seeing negativity or positivity in a negative situation is something that is unique, but it is possible. Every situation, as bad as it sounds, you got to look at what's out of it. Also, to your point, there's crisis that happens all the time. What I refer to as SOS: see it, own it, and solve it, as opposed to like see it and just like complain, like what the hell's going on? Why me? Why is going on right now? It shouldn't be like this. It happened already. You can't do anything about it, so we move on. What can we do to take the best? Make lemonade or lemons, as they say. You make whatever you have. Well, that gives you. If you're getting a card dealer, giving you some cards, you don't control what you got, but you have to work with what you have. So
you got to work with what you have,
exactly.
And it's really important. A lot of times, when I'll do consulting work or I'll go out and help a company somehow, and they'll think, oh, the creative, work that you want to do with us is going to be expensive, right? We read your book. It's going to be expensive. You're going to need new machines or whatever, but everything that I talk about is free. It's all free. Changing your mindset costs you nothing, zero. It's not like you have to invest in a new process or a service or something like that. It really is about wanting to change and wanting to embrace a different way of thinking, and it's absolutely free.
It's just a switch. And again, what I said earlier is that there are also various environmental, type of influences that make sometimes people not want to see that, switch off or on, because they're just so used to that, oh my God, the world is gloomy. I mean, it could be a bad day. You can still make a good day out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And truly, I mean, one thing in this pandemic, for example, many people, as bad as it is, and the loss of life and the crazy, but people have emerged out of this with a lot of things: creativity, ideas. People have their own channels. I mean, I'm not talking about just, for example, this was before the pandemic, but there are people that actually started businesses in this time frame, and they're succeeding. And so there's so many ways you can look at things. Cup full, half full, or half empty. That's a choice. It's the same cup, but really it's just the angle you look at things, right? So it is a very interesting way of looking at life, and especially when you're talking about creating and putting something in place. You got to go the next step. You mentioned the example of consulting. I've done some of that myself, and sometimes you do give the highlights of what someone or company can do, but whatever they do with it, it's really on them. And you'll see sometimes that not everybody uses what you give them. And to your point, it's available to them now. Just do whatever you want with it. You can succeed or not. That's up to you. Some will take it, some will not. It is crazy. Nir, what is the ultimate message, that you would like to share with the audience today?
I think the ultimate message is that creativity is one of those things that anybody can do and everybody can use. We just don't use it enough. And it's something that anybody can learn how to do. People think creativity is usually like art or music or dance. And that's like one tiny little sliver of the whole network that creativity offers you. our brains are roughly split into an analytical and a creative side. And we've spent far too long developing the analytical side and letting the creative side go to waste. And so the one thing I want your listeners to take away is that there is a different way to solve problems. There's a different way to look at things and to come up with solutions that is not analytic based. It's just like, creative based, and it's out there for the taking. You were born with it. Don't worry. It's about reawakening that creativity that lies latent in every human on earth and using it in your business to solve problems, to be more positive, to have empathy and humor and courage and all these wonderful soft skills that will enable you to compete much, much better in the marketplace.
So Nir, where can our listeners and anyone that's watching this program get the book?
So it's on Amazon. It's in Barnes & Noble. If you want to put on a mask and go to Barnes & Noble, it's there. It's in every store across the country. And yeah, I'd love to hear feedback from you guys. I have a website. It's my name, nirbashan.com, NIRBASHAN.com. We have a free community on there. We got, several hundred people who are communicating back and forth and asking questions. And I'll go on there often to help out. I'd love to hear from you and get your feedback and see what your listeners think.
Will do, and I will add that link also on the actual description, on the YouTube and all the different channels. But also, I want to do one more. I love the concept, because that's something I believe in dearly, and I will actually use that in our trainings, at work, and get that concept shared with others. So, and I've used books, as means of training. Especially I deal with the Salesforce, and it's always about being out there and creating business, right? And so and also management, level where there's leadership skills, and this impacts a lot on how you approach things. And so I've used other books. Now this goes to the collection. So Nir, it is a true pleasure and a privilege to have you on the channel and on the radio here. It was a great time. I wish we had more, and we can certainly talk a lot more, about this. I know your time is valuable, but I want to thank you for joining us and for all the great, feedback and content, and definitely for a great book with a great concept that we all need and can use. So that being said, thank you. And then for our viewers and listeners, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hurricane H here. This was an episode of The Quote with Nir Bashan, and author of the Creator Mindset. And thank you. And we'll see you and talk to you at the next show.